Students, what's up? It is night 3. And to kick off tonight's session, I want to give you the title real quick. We're going to be in Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 41. And tonight's title is Jesus Over Everything. Jesus over everything. It's real possible to go through life and be so focused at the evil going on in the world that really we don't see Jesus as over everything. You know, when we look at evil long enough, there's this residue that sticks with us, that we can become edgy or angry or upset or have more questions than answers. And what you look at long enough will end up playing out in your life. Like, for example, if I looked at a Dairy Queen Blizzard long enough, I'm sorry, I am getting my butt to Dairy Queen to go get a Blizzard. If I looked at Tim Hortons long enough, I would be finding myself at Tim Hortons going to go get some like iced coffee or something. What we look at long enough will end up determining where we go in life. And when we look at evil long enough, we start to miss out that Jesus is actually over everything. We start to think evil is over everything. We start to think that damaged goods is just how things will be. When all along, Jesus is trying to show us that he's actually over everything. And where I'm about to lead you is I'm about to lead you right into a perfect storm. Jesus tells his disciples to get inside the boat and that he was going to take them to the other side. And sometimes when we follow Jesus, he doesn't purposely put storms in our life, but he will lead us to where he wants us to go to prove a point, to help show us what he's doing and what he wants to do through us. I'll just say this. When you live life long enough, it's not if you'll experience a storm, but when you will experience a storm. I've heard it put like this. Some people are about to go into a storm. Some people are currently in a storm. And some people are just getting out of a storm. Like in life, there will be storms. And some of you right now might find yourself in that exact spot where life is more evil than it is good, where life is more difficult than it is easy, where life seems to be more about pain than it is not pain. Wherever you are, it's possible that the person watching with you or the person on the other side of the screen actually resonates of being in a storm. But the real question is, what are you looking at when you're in the storm? Some of you heard in my last message how my parents ended up getting a divorce, and my mom and dad, who were married for 17 years of marriage, ended up resulting in a divorce, and I became the man of the house. I thought the storm was kind of coming to an end until a year after my dad left my mom, we get the news as my mom was tucking my sister in bed one night that they came across a big lump in her leg. And my mom said, Victoria, what's this lump? She's an 8-year-old girl. She goes, Mom, it's just a bruise. Don't worry about it. Mom, it's okay. It's just a bruise. My mom knew it wasn't just a bruise. She brought my sister to the doctor, and the doctor did some scans, and they did a biopsy, and they found out there was a 6-inch by 8-inch tumor wrapped around the femur bone of my sister's right femur. And when the doctors did a biopsy of the tumor, they found out it was stage 4 synovial cell sarcoma cancer, and the doctors had given her a 20% chance to live. I just was coming out of a storm of my dad leaving. It had been about a year since my dad left our family and a divorce went down in our home. I'm about 14, 15 years old at this time, and now I get the word that my sister has a 20% chance left to live. Sometimes when storms hit, questions begin to emerge. Sometimes when storms hit your life, you begin to doubt and begin to wrestle with faith on, God, where are you? Or God, what's going on? Or God, why does it have to be me? Or God, why does a girl who's 8 years old need to be diagnosed with stage 4 cancer? My dad had just left, and now my sister has a 20% chance to live. Maybe some of you know what it's like to walk through a storm. Maybe some of you are in a storm. Maybe you just got the cancer diagnosis of a friend or a mom or a grandma. Maybe you know what it's like to walk through difficult situations and experience storms of your own. I'll just say this though. Storms will always reveal what you're looking at. Storms will always reveal what's inside of you. Storms will reveal and things will come out of you of things that you've been looking at and staring at. Just how I experienced a storm in my family. These disciples experienced a real life storm in a boat. It says in the text, when they were in the boat, a furious squall came up and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. They're in the middle of the Sea of Galilee. There's winds whipping off the cliffs of the Sea of Galilee. And it says, Jesus was in the stern sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" The disciples' eyes had been on the storm, the waves coming in the boat. They're freaked out. They're filled with fear. They're filled with anxiety. In fact, it's possible that maybe it's not a physical storm, but maybe you're in a spot right now where your life is filled with fear. It's filled with anxiety. You're in the middle of the storm, and what you're looking at is the storm, but you're missing out on who's in the storm with you. It's possible that your eyes are on the wind and the waves, and your eyes are on the boat with the water coming in, but maybe it's possible that the last thing you and I are looking at is maybe we're not looking at God. What's God doing in the storm? Where's God in the storm? God actually happens to be sleeping while water is coming into the boat. I don't know about you, but if water hits me in a boat and I'm sleeping and I'm going like this and I'm rocking all over the place, I'm waking up. Jesus is sleeping and there's water coming in around him, and he doesn't wake up till the disciples finally put their eyes on him and say, "Jesus, don't you care if we drown?" And then Jesus does something that shocks them. Jesus begins to show that he's actually over everything. That Jesus is over the storm, that he's over nature, that he's over creation, that he was there before the foundations of the world were ever set, that he was, I am, before anything existed, that he was there before humans were created, that he is God over everything. It says he got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down and was completely calm. Y'all, this is crazy. In one moment, it was treacherous winds and downpour, and in the very next moment, quiet, peace, stillness, the water like glass, peaceful. And the disciples' response is crazy. In verse 41, it says they were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this?" Guys, don't miss this. The disciples, when they finally looked at God, they were terrified with fear and awe and amazement, more so than the storm that they had just endured. When you look at God, the storm becomes small in comparison to the size of God. What you look at will determine what happens in your life. If you are in the middle of the storm, I want to challenge you. Keep looking to God. Keep your eyes on God. Look at God. You might not understand it in the moment of the storm. You might not understand it in the middle of your pain. But you better believe in Romans 8, it says God works for the good of those who love him and have been called according to his purposes. You and I are called to look at God. The one question I want to leave you with is the same question Jesus asked the disciples. Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? Jesus is saying this: the wind and the waves scared you more than me who is with you always. The wind and the waves and the storm became greater than who I am. Where is your faith? In other words, Jesus is saying this: put your faith in me. Don't you trust me? Don't you trust me to lead your life, to guide you, to bring you through the storm? Some of us quit in the middle of the storm. and we never see the miracle of the storm being stilled. Jesus wants to say to you, quiet, be still. None of us knew the outcome of my younger sister, who was 8 years old, battling stage 4 cancer. She battled it for 2 years of her life. The doctor said she'd have 20% chance left to live. She went through all the chemotherapy and radiation her little body could handle. I thought my sister was gonna die. And then God showed up in the middle of the storm. We prayed for her, just as we've been praying for over 2 years. Brought her to the doctor to find out where the tumors had gone in her body, because the tumors spread to her lungs. When they held up the scans, there were no more tumors in her body whatsoever, and she's been cancer-free now for over 15 years. I don't know why God chooses to heal some and not others, but I've watched God calm storms all throughout my life in His timing, and all He's called me to do is to look at Him and to trust Him. Where is your faith? Put your faith in Jesus and look at God.